What is up, everybody? It's your boy Phil Porto, photographer, videographer, and educator. And today on the channel, I want to talk about this little guy right here, the Fuji 33 1.4. So before I really dive into the video, I want to let you guys know this is not going to be a tech spec, tech forward kind of video. That's not really my thing. I'm not a techie. Okay, if you want just tech specs, you can read that on Adorama, B&H, or Amazon's website. You can search Google because there's tons of tech spec videos that have been put out ever since the Fuji 33 was rumored and announced. But for me, I kind of feel like a lot of times we can buy into something based off of what we read or what's on paper, but it doesn't really translate when you actually put it into your hands or put it onto the camera and go out there and use it. So for me, I want to talk about what it's really like using something, what it's really like having an experience with that piece of gear. And so I want to talk about my experience so far with the Fuji 33 1.4. Because I got this lens, I was really thankful. I know it was back ordered for a lot of you, and some of you are just now getting it in. But Adorama got some a little bit early and sent it out to me the day they got it. So I'm very thankful to Adorama for that, because I had a whole bunch of weddings back to back that I wanted to use it on to be able to create this video. So I wanted to use it in the real world and talk about it. So since I got it, I think I've shot like 5 or 6 weddings with it. And so I want to talk about my experience using it. Do I think it's worth it for you to get it? And what I think the pros and cons are of this lens. So let's just dive straight into it and talk about why I pre-ordered this lens. So the reason I wanted this lens was because the 35 1.4 was my baby. I loved that lens. And I used it all the time. However, since I do photo and video, I did see that the autofocus was a little bit slower than I really wanted it to be. And when I'm shooting weddings, that is so important. When I'm out there shooting just like regular portraits or something like that, it's really not that big of a deal because I'm more in control of the timing and everything like that. But when things are moving so fast-paced like they are on a wedding day, I want to make sure that I'm catching the shot at the moment it's happening and I'm not having to say, crap, I could have gotten that if it was just a little bit faster. And so that's what I struggled with the 35 1.4. But yet I always had that lens on my camera. I felt like it was so good that sometimes it was worth the risk. And because the reward would be so great every time I got the shot that I wanted with that lens. But then over time, I started to notice that as much as I wanted to grab that lens, I kind of kept it in my bag until things were more controlled, such as portrait time. And I settled for lenses that I didn't think were as great, but that I thought would be more reliable. And so when I saw that the 33 1.4 was coming out and that it was gonna have a faster autofocus, that intrigued me big time. But like I said, I wanted to make sure that what I was reading was actually going to be the case. And I am so thankful that it is. This lens has been so reliable since I got it. Super fast autofocus comparatively to the 35 1.4. And the crispness of the lens is just beautiful. And I still get that same look that I loved on the 35 1.4. But this one is a little more reliable than that one was. And so that's a huge thing for me, is the reliability of this new 33 1.4. I feel like comparatively I can look at both images and say that I have not sacrificed anything from the 35 with the 33 now. But I did get that reliability that is so important in my field. And so, yes, the autofocus is faster. The autofocus is more reliable. And it is a lot smoother of an autofocus in both photo and video. So that was one huge selling point to me. And then when I got it, it's one thing that kept me, on board with this lens. Then the next is how quiet this lens is, okay? No knock on the 35 1.4. It's an OG lens. Like, Fuji was doing great things with that lens before its time. However, it was loud. And I'm not talking about like, but like straight up loud. That in certain situations that I wanted to use the lens, such as like a ceremony where it was in a Catholic church and it was a lot, you know, quieter, I didn't want to use that lens, especially in video, because it would make that sound so consistently that it was a little bit obnoxious and definitely distracting. So the silence of this lens is so great. I love the fact that I can use this lens at any point in the day and I don't have to worry about what I worried about with the 35 1.4, which was the sound when it was trying to catch focus. Then the build quality. Okay, the 35 1.4 wasn't bad, okay, but it was just such a different feel from all the other Fuji lenses that I was using that it did feel a little different when I then put that lens on and had it in my hand. And so now that I switched to the 18 from the 23s and 16, which if you haven't seen my video on the 18, then after this, go to that one. But I love the feel of the 18. I love how it felt in my hand. I love how it felt on my camera. And now I have that same feeling with the 33. The build quality is impeccable, just like the 18 was. And the feel of it is very, very similar. So those two are the ones I pair together now, the 18 and the 33. And so having them on both sides of me, it feels really, really good. The weight is pretty similar. The feel is pretty much exact. And so it gives that consistency that I want and that I need for a full wedding day. And so I've been using the 18 and 33 side by side, and they both give me that same productivity, that same reliability, that same feel that, you know, I have in the other lens. And so that's huge to me. You know, I hate when I feel like something on this side is so stable and a go-to, and that I have to shoot with this one more than what's on my other side because I might not be able to get that same feel, or it might just not feel as comfortable in a run and gun situation. But having both of those be so consistent and comparable to one another really makes the process of shooting a wedding with those two lenses seamless. Weather sealing. For some of you, this might not really matter, but for me, this is huge. I shoot a lot of places like Florida, recently Bermuda and Puerto Rico, and rain is a real thing, and it's consistent, and sometimes it can rain all day long. And in times past, I would want to be able to shoot with that 35 focal length, and I couldn't because the 35 1.4 wasn't weather sealed. So 4 or 5 out of the last weddings that I've shot since I've gotten the 33 have been affected by the rain. However, my images have not been affected. I've been able to go confidently with the 33 1.4 and shoot in the rain. And it's been such a clutch lens, such a workhorse for me these last few weeks. And so being weather sealed has really, really been a clutch thing for me. And then last, but certainly not least, the end result. So it doesn't really matter if it's weather sealed. It doesn't matter if it feels good on both arms. If the end result is less beautiful than what I was previously shooting, then it would not be worth it. But I have not missed a single thing in the end result from the 35 1.4 to now the 33 1.4. Matter of fact, I feel like I'm getting more images that I absolutely love with the 33 than the 1.4. As you can see, as I'm showing some of these clips right now, this lens has been so great. It's got the bokeh that I love. It's got the sharpness that I love. It's got the reliability that I need, and just gives me an overall great looking image. And so the fact that I've upgraded some of my other lenses, you know, it's kind of one of those things where it made sense. And so if you're not really worried about like consistency across the board, or you're not really shooting something where you have, you know, multiple lenses that you're using, maybe it's not worth the upgrade. You know, maybe in more controlled environments and stuff like that, save your money. But if you have already upgraded some of your gear, some of your cameras, and you're using something like an 18 already, or you're ordered the new 23 and you want to have consistency across the board, this is a no-brainer to purchase the 33 1.4. And so I love it. I hope you love it. And if you don't, I'm sorry, give it away, return it, whatever you got to do. But I think it's definitely worth the purchase. And you know I wouldn't say that if I didn't agree with it. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know it wasn't crazy long, but I did want to honor my word when I said in the last video that I would create a small review on the 33 1.4. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's not as long as some of my other ones, but I did want to honor my word that I would create a little video about my thoughts of the 33 1.4. And also, I was not able to create as much content as I had hoped before my surgery, but I thank you guys for sticking with. Hopefully, I will see you guys in a few weeks. If you can keep me in your prayers, that would be amazing. Keep me in your thoughts. I have included a link to my preset pack in the description of this video. If you want to support and pick that up and enjoy the presets on your images, I would truly appreciate that. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tell others to subscribe. And thank you guys always for rocking with me. Talk to you guys in a few. God bless you.